Bonjour tout le monde! Hi everybody! Welcome back to the channel, guys. I hope you're doing amazing and I'm happy to you today for another video. And for this week's video, we're gonna talk about fashion. Fashion in French is la mode. So, what am I to schedule for today? Introduction. What's the goal? Apprendre à nommer et décrire les vêtements et les accessoires. Meaning to learn how to count and describe the clothing and the accessories. Donc, clothing, les vêtements. Accessories, les accessoires. So we're going to see all the vocabulary related to clothing, the verb that we use when we want to say that you're wearing a certain type of clothes. And then the goal after this lesson will be to be able to describe what the people are wearing and how to describe their style, their way of dressing up, and their outfit. Okay, first part, première partie, les vêtements du quotidien, meaning daily clothing, things that we wear on a daily basis. Pants. To say pants, in French, un pantalon. Careful with this one. In English, pants tends to be always plural. In French, it's not. It has to be singular and masculine. So it's gonna be un pantalon, pants. To say a shirt, such as the one we see in the picture, a shirt, une chemise, feminine. A t-shirt, un t-shirt. Same thing, just a slightly little difference. In English, we say t-shirt. In French, t-shirt. You know that we like to pronounce our consonant, t-shirt. To say a sweater, un pull. Donc, I know that it tends to be an English word, but we use it in French to say a sweater. A sweater, un pull. A skirt, une jupe. And a dress, une robe. Donc, same as usual, you know that everything is gendered in French. Same for the clothing. So when you learn the vocabulary, you have to learn it with the gender. Un pantalon, une chemise, un t-shirt, un pull, une jupe, une robe. These are the vocabulary that we're going to be using, of course, on a regular basis, every day. Then, let's focus on the outside, the outdoor clothing, les vêtements d'extérieur, things that we tend to be wearing outside, and especially when it's hot or cold. Example, a coat. If you want to say a coat, un manteau. Manteau. You know that AN makes the sound en, EAU makes the sound O. Un manteau, a coat. A jacket, une veste. A hat, un chapeau. A cap, une casquette. And a scarf, une écharpe. Let's read them one more time. Un manteau, une veste, un chapeau, une casquette, une écharpe. Okay, of course, these are just a couple of examples. We have plenty more. So if you have any other ideas or maybe like vocabulary that you want to learn, specific ones, don't hesitate to ask either in the comment section or on our social pages so that we can help you to learn even more vocabulary. But I would say that these ones are maybe like the main ones that we're going to be using pretty. Then, les chaussures. Les chaussures, the shoes. So if you want to say shoes, chaussures. To say sneakers, des baskets. Basket is sneakers. One thing, because of course, we tend to have 2 feet, it's always going to be plural. So to say sneakers, always des baskets. To say boots, des bottes. And to say sandals, it's the same word, but we tend to slightly change the pronunciation, des sandales. When it comes to shoes, always plural, always put des and your noun. Des chaussures, des baskets, des bottes, des sandales. Okay, same. If you have any other ideas of vocabulary, feel free to write it down. Now, let's focus on the accessories. Accessories, les accessoires. Careful on the pronunciation on this one. You see that we have 2 C. Donc, when you have ACC, you're going to pronounce it like a KS sound, meaning accès, accessoire, accessories. If you want to say a bag, un sac, masculine. To say glasses, des lunettes, always plural. Des lunettes, glasses. So if you want to say sunglasses, des lunettes de soleil. It's like you're saying some glasses of sun. Donc sunglasses. Des lunettes de soleil. To say a watch, une montre, feminine. And then we have the category of jewelry. If you want to say jewelry, des bijoux. You don't pronounce the X. Why do we have X here? It's just that it's the letter of the plural. Usually, most of the time, the letter of the plural is the S. Unless you have a word that finishes with OU. When the word finishes with OU and you want to put that word plural, it's going to be with the X, not with the S. So it's just to show that it's the plural form of the way to say the word. Donc, jewelry, des bijoux. And of course, in this category, we have different types of jewelry. To say a necklace, un collier. Collier, necklace. Un bracelet is a bracelet. It's the same word. We tend to just change the pronunciation. So we go from a bracelet to un bracelet. Then, to say a ring, une bague. Bague. Don't say bague or baguette, it's bag. And you stop at the g sound. And then to say earrings, des boucles d'oreilles. Oreille is ears, boucle is like hoops. Donc hoops of ears, earrings. Des boucles d'oreilles. Let's read them one more time. Un sac, des lunettes de soleil, une montre, des bijoux, un collier, un bracelet, une bague, des boucles d'oreilles. Okay, so you always have to be careful that sometimes, depending on what you want to say, if it's just like a type of clothing, of course you can say e. So for example, you know that pantalon has to be masculine. Jupe is feminine. That's why we have un and une. But sometimes, when it comes to shoes or jewelry or whatever, sometimes words tends to be plural. So if you want to learn this vocabulary, just make sure that you learn it with the pronoun, with the gender, because it's never going to change. So when you learn a word, you learn it with the gender. Okay, this is pretty much it for the vocabulary. Now let's focus on the verb. When it comes to the clothing, we have different types of verbs. For example, if you want to say to dress up is s'habiller. It's the name of the verb, s'habiller. But if you want to say to wear is porter. Same as to carry. If you know to carry is porter, it's the same. But this one has the meaning also as to wear. Same thing as the natural conjugation of the verb. You see that porter is a ER verb, meaning it's the first group of the verb. If you're not sure about how to build the construction of the verb, such as the conjugation, feel free to watch the video where we study all of the different types of verbs and how to construct them and to build them. But here, you know that porter is to wear, and if you know already how to conjugate a verb, you know how to conjugate this one. So if you want to say I wear, je porte. You wear, tu portes. He wears or she wears, il porte, elle porte. You know that on is the singular general way to say we. It's like saying everybody. Donc everybody wears, on porte. We wear, nous portons, and you don't pronounce the S. You wear, but formal or plural, vous portez. EZ is the E sound, vous portez. And they wear, ils, elles portent. Don't pronounce the ENT. Careful. Keep in mind that every time you have the ENT ending, it's because it's the ending of they, which is il ou elle, but it's always mute. So when it comes to pronunciation, unless you focus on nous and vous, all the other ones are the same. Je porte, tu portent. Ils, elles, on porte. Nous portons, vous portez, ils, elles portent. And now, because you know how to conjugate the verb and you know the vocabulary, you are able to make a phrase. Exemple. Je porte un jean bleu et des baskets blanches. Here, I added some vocabulary that we didn't see yet. What are those? The colors, the adjectives. But we're going to see them right now. But you can see right now that if I want to say I wear, je porte, you know that jeans, okay, it's the same as pant, it's masculine. Un jean bleu, des baskets blanches. Basket, sneakers. Sneakers is shoes, it has to be plural. So I'm going to keep my plural pronoun, des baskets, and then I'm going to add my color. So what do we see here? We see that the French and the English are different when it comes to how do we place the adjective, like the color, in a phrase. In English, it tends to be before, like some white sneakers. In French, the color will always be at the end. So it's like you're saying some sneakers white. Okay, you know that blanche is white. What do we see here? When you look at un jean bleu, des baskets blanches, it's not the same way. Why? Because jean, which is like denim, jeans, it's masculine in French. This is why we have un jean. How did I spell bleu? Bleu is blue. It's also masculine singular because it's an adjective. You know that the adjective that is connected to the noun always has to be the same gender as the noun that is related to. So if I'm talking about like a type of clothing that has to be masculine, and I want to say, for example, like the color of that thing, it has to be connected to it because it's related to it. So if it's related to it, it has to be the same gender. So because jean is masculine, blue will be masculine. Basket is feminine and plural. Because it's feminine and plural, my adjective, blanche, which is white, also has to be feminine and plural. This is the main rule that we need to know and that we need to keep in mind when we want to say the colors of something, like we want to use adjectives, and that it's always related to the noun, so it has to be the same gender of the noun. This is what we're going to see right now. So, you know that, of course, we have the colors in French, same as in English. But because everything is gender, we're always going to have 4 ways to say it. We have the masculine singular, such as, for example, if I want to say un pull, a sweater, it's masculine. So if I want to give like more detail on the color, I'm going to have to keep my masculine singular. So I need to have the masculine singular for each color, which is the same for the feminine singular, the masculine plural, and the feminine plural. So white, blanc, masculine singular, blanche, feminine singular. And when it comes to plural, I just put my S. Masculine plural, blanc, feminine plural, blanche. That means I need to keep my feminine because it remains feminine, but if it's plural, I add my S. And it's going to be the same for every color. We just have to be careful because sometimes we have some exception. Why that? For example, yellow. Look at yellow. Masculine singular is jaune. Jaune. What would be the feminine of that? For example, if I want to say a yellow sweater, un pull jaune. Keep in mind to always put the color at the end. But if I want to say a yellow skirt, I'm going to say une jupe, a skirt, yellow. It's the same. Why is it the same? Because you know that E is the letter of the feminine. But because I already have it for the masculine, I'm not going to add a double E. So I'm going to keep the same spelling and same writing for the masculine and the feminine. But then, when it's plural, I just put my S. Marron, which is brown is marron, is an exception also, meaning that this one, we're not going to put an E when it's feminine. We're going to keep the same way as the masculine. So it's going to be marron for both. And then you have the plural when you can add your S. So here you have a little recap of all of the colors. You need to learn them by heart just to make sure that, for example, when it comes to white, blanc finishing with a C is the masculine, but the feminine is not just the E, you need to add the H. Blanche is the feminine. And then, depending on the gender and how many, if it's singular or plural, you can always change. So feel free to see that and to study that, be able to make some phrases. And it's always going to be the same way. I, or your pronoun, the verb porter, to wear, the pronoun un, une, des, your clothing, your accessories, which is your noun, and you finish with the adjective. So if it's a color, you finish with your color. And that's pretty much it. So now I have made a little exercise for you, which is you have a picture right here. I would like you to try to describe it. So you tell me for each person, what is that person wearing? Example, the lady on the left is wearing a coat and a scarf. And if you want to give more example, is wearing a black coat, which is in France a coat black. So I'm pretty sure it's okay. If you have any question, please don't hesitate to ask, either in the comment section or on our social pages. We're going to be happy to help you. I hope that you like this video. If you did, give a thumbs up. Don't hesitate to subscribe to the channel to see more videos. We're going to do video same as usual every week. If you have any requests, same, you can always ask. And I hope that you like this video, and I cannot wait to see you next week for another one. Salut!